right, I'll carry this.
I was going to carry it.
I'll take your seat. Thanks.
Jonathan's getting photographed.
Yeah, no problem. You would like to write a check for his textbooks with? Prices, books over there, you can write out a check for that. We'll take you over.
What? Oh, yeah. Well, I've got Maristalco, like everybody else, so...
Once you don't get in the shower this year, I'll be out.
Well, that's cute.
There's it needs to get to your room.
I just want to make sure you were here, okay? All right, stay quiet. All right, John?
He has permission to do so.
Yes, a day or two at least. Let us know. We give you the number.
I started something different, so that's a totally different. Oh, okay.
Is that red hat? Red hat!
Okay, she blew the whistle. Come on!
Come on!
Back. Stay back.
We got break you, boys.
This one. Oh, I get that. I didn't get that either.
Smile and say hi, Mom. Say hi, Mom. I'm drunk. Hi, Mom. I need money. Hi, Grandma. I need money.
No money.
If it's a girl, I have plenty of money. Because I'm like, same with mine. Good choice.
You notice when you never, you always have these things, you never have to pay.
Go.
Watching this tape, we're only doing this so we can get answers. You don't want the
Well,
answers.
explain what you're doing.
We're making Brick Angels.
Angels! Very good, keep going! Hey, wait a second. Okay, everybody give the tree a kiss. See? Okay, bye.
Welcome you all to this wonderful liberal arts and sciences university, Northeast Missouri State, soon to be, as you might know, Truman State University.
My students also will be involved giving projects. It's not going to simply be a passive experience for you guys, but it also be quite active.
Of course, comic books. Just to demonstrate that the art religion is still with us. We'll try to vary the activities as much as possible.
Hour of practice, an hour of fiction, knowledge Shakespeare. They get a little bit of everything and they come away knowing what they wanted to do with their lives.
The square kind of thing?
Yeah, these three right here. But I
Is there anything else that I know that's true of you that you guys don't?
We do finish it with the net. Yeah.
What did we do in the course? What was the course about? It was about certainly the Arthur tradition and Arthurian literature, but more importantly, it was about the uses of tradition and the uses of a mythical figure like Arthur, trying to figure out why this fairly shadowy, obscure figure would fascinate the Western world for 1,500 years the way he has, and what place mythic hero figures like that might not have in our lives today.
It's not just the historical Arthur. In fact, it's very little of the historical Arthur. I think we discussed that the first day, and then we moved on. It's not only about King Arthur. We've also learned just quite a bit about history and people and things in general, and we've connected those things. It's a very broad basis of learning of what we've learned in this class.
Before I came here, I only knew about the legend. You know, I didn't even know that much about it. But then when you start learning about all the deeper parts of it, you know, like how you find out where Arthur really might have been born, and it goes from like a legend to some part of reality where you realize that there was this man, but that he probably wasn't a lot like, you know, the real legend.
I'm not sure that I foresaw any definite conclusions to that inquiry, and I'm not at all sure that the students came to definite conclusions. I think we were successful in that they learned how to think through such questions for themselves, how to identify such questions for themselves.
This is my third year and last year, and it's really sad knowing that everything I'm doing, like this week, is my last time doing it here. The class is fun. Professor Davis is pretty cool. He's like, when he lectures, you sit there and you take notes, but you don't have time to write because he'll ask you a question, or you have to start, he'll ask you questions that he doesn't even know the answer to. You are teaching him as much as he's teaching you, so.
In 6, I was walking into my room, and I looked down the hall, and someone had their swimsuit on. I was thinking, that's strange, why would someone have their swimsuit on? But then when I saw her reaction, which was, I realized it wasn't a swimsuit. So I hid my eyes and went into my room and walked back, and I found out that this person was locked out of their room with their underwear on. Well, they don't know who you are yet, Stacy. Well, someone said, well, why don't you get a master key and let her in? I said, yeah, maybe I'll do that. So I went and got the master key and let her in her room. But Stacy, Irwin, I think you're going to get it tonight.
You need help, Wyatt? No.
Really good.
Let's see. It's better than mine.
It's insane.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. No, I don't want to.
focus of the elementary Latin class was to look at the Latin language. We looked at the morphology, the grammar, the syntax, the vocabulary of the language. It was classical Latin, which means it was Ciceronian Latin. But in addition to that, we spent quite a bit of our time, maybe half of our time, looking at select cultural aspects of the Greco-Roman world. We looked at Greek mythology, Roman religion. We looked at the art and the architecture of the Romans. We looked at the gladiatorial contests, the chariot races. We looked at quite a few things that students are very interested in, but things they probably have heard of in school, but they really haven't seen in any great amount of detail.
I think I've learned a lot more about our own culture and maybe the basis of our language, because it makes it easier for me to understand where the words come from, and I'm able to, if I don't know a word, then I'm able to get it from my Latin knowledge.
Well, I think that what students will get out of this class is not so much the specifics of the Latin language itself. I mean, a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, they're going to forget the morphology of the language, the grammar, and the syntax. On the other hand, we introduce to them the basic structures of a language, and these are things that they can apply to their English and to other Romance languages when they start studying them. I think that we really focused on study skills in our class. I think that they have had experience having to be on task. We expected them to be able to speak well, to write well, to learn a new and very difficult sort of language. And these are things that they'll be able to apply to other subjects in their schools at the junior high level, high school level, and ultimately at the college level.
Your bonus question. Henry Clay was one of the dominant politicians of his era, but he lost comedian Groucho Marx and Dagwood Bumstead's boss, Mr. Dithers, all shared, but did not use, for 10 points, what noble Roman first name? 4 side awards. That is incorrect. Tom.
Richard Evans.
That is also incorrect. The answer is Gerald Ford. The CNN evening show was simulcast on radio. For 10 points, name
Larry King.
That is correct. Your bonus question.
Algebraically speaking, we've done a lot of algebra. The design of the course is as a self-paced course, so that the students begin in the text that they're prepared for and they work at their own pace. And then we are there to assist them. There's me and 3 preceptors as well as some tutorial software on the computers that we're there to help them do their own work and help them work at their own pace. So it's really, the course is entirely up to them. It's what they make it to be. Teaching 3 different levels of algebra can be a bit trying at times because you find yourself answering a wide dispersion of levels of questions all within a few minutes of one another. That's also kind of exciting because it helps you really see the interrelationships between the different levels of algebra, because the algebra is very much the same, yet you find a certain increasing of the depth and the level of difficulty at each level. So as you help them and help them back to back and you move from one question to the next, you become perhaps more aware of those results or those differences than you might have been before. So it's kind of neat, but it can be a lot of work.
Even though we are on different levels, we don't work completely separately. It's not like working in a course of like 3 different languages, because it is still all algebra. So it overlaps a lot, so you can still, like, I don't know, do things that are together. So you're not like trying to talk German, French, and Russian to each other, but you're like actually doing algebra together.
I took biology last time, and I took algebra this time because I noticed how much fun the algebra kids were having. They just seemed to enjoy themselves so much, and I really wanted to be a part of that this year, and I was like, maybe I should take that class. I think I'll like that class. I learned that there are imaginary numbers. It just blew my mind. I never really thought what an imaginary number was, and that's my most favorite thing to do now is work with those imaginary numbers. I think that's great. And I learned some things about other kids too, about how fast they work, and they also help you a lot. If you have a question, you can always ask the person next to you if someone else is busy, and they'll be like, oh, I'll help you, I'll help you. And I've learned just to work at your own pace, and I've learned what helps me to know what I know.
Well, the best part is watching them come along and seeing their sense of accomplishment when they've done well on a test and they've passed and they're ready to move on to the next chapter. The flip side of that is helping them deal with it when they don't pass the test the first time, which happens a lot, because studying on your own is really tough, and learning how to learn on your own means that they learn a lot about themselves and they learn a lot about their own character. And so some of the toughest lessons they learn are about themselves and have nothing to do with algebra, but the fact that they do have the strength to go ahead and keep working that material even though they haven't gotten it the first time. And so, in my opinion, the most exciting thing is watching them learn and mature as learners.
Yummy. Some more. Hold on, man. Hey, it's why don't we just have a lunch and give more ass? Yeah. Give me a money. You guys ready? No. Yeah. Set. Yeah. Go. Come on, guys. Come on. There it is. Pull him over. That's it. Well, bag it. Okay. Push me on. Right over here. All right. I get to play mud volleyball again too at 3. I can play it at 4. Yeah, I can play up. No. Nasty.
Okay, go.
I know, they all gotta swallow before they go. They don't know. Hard enough. Keep going, come on, Jasper, we're almost there.
Squeeze it too. Could have been worse.
Eat it all. Right past your tongue.
Is this our last one? No. Okay. I know. Well, we'll make it. We'll make it. We got people here. We'll make it.
Do you have anything? 2-5.
At the opening assembly for Baldwin Academy, I said that there were three objectives that our course would try to focus on. And those were an appreciation of Shakespeare's life and work, an understanding then of Elizabethan attitudes and customs, and then also an understanding of the layout and the architecture of an Elizabethan theater. So over the past 3 weeks, we've focused on 5 plays as a class. We've looked at Elizabethan costuming, Elizabethan dress, and constructed self-portraits of ourselves then in Elizabethan costumes. We've made masks and used those as props for presentations of reading sonnets and performing soliloquies and scenes from plays then, which we performed for Baldwin Academy as a whole.
When you first sign up for Shakespeare, you think that it's just going to be reading plays all the time. But the first class, you walk in there and you realize that we're going to get up and perform everything and have a lot of fun in the class. That's what it's all about. We have a lot of fun. We go through a lot of things in the theater as well as in Shakespeare, like making our costumes and talking about their hygiene and all the yucky things they did. And we had so much fun performing last night too. It's really cool to put everything that you've been doing in class up on stage.
Many of these students have had a lot of Shakespeare experience, and many have had none. There are days when we've read the plays in class where the enthusiasm level has been quite high, and students have enjoyed the parts that they were reading and performing for the class, and things have clicked and worked quite well. There are other days where voices have become a bit monotone and people have started to lie down on their books and rest their heads ever so gently on their very thick anthologies. Not sleeping, but waiting for their cue to come back up on stage. But I think overall, students have taken to the course very, very well.
It's really fun because we get to act things out in the front of the room, and if you mess up, it doesn't really matter because everybody else around is just learning about it too. And we take a couple of exams, but they're not that hard. It's just one of those little casualties about going to school. I know we've read Much Ado About Nothing, A Midsummer Night's Dream, Julius Caesar, Macbeth, Romeo and Juliet, or Twelfth Night. I think that's it.
The
mix and match swearing sheet, how to curse, how to give a curse like an Elizabethan, is something that I think is a bit of a tradition with the Shakespeare class. It's a sheet that I was exposed to some time ago. The preceptors have been aware or have known about it for some time. It's been a part of the Shakespeare class. It consists of 3 columns. The first column is a set of adjectives, the second column is a set of compound adjectives, and the third column is a set of nouns, so that students can look over the sheet and take one word out of the first column, a word out of the second column, and a word out of the third column. Or 5 or 6 words then, and construct what would be a very, very good Elizabethan name-calling curse.
Okay, you frothy, hell-hated, hedge-born, idle-headed, ill-breeding clackdish.
You frothy, rump-fed scoundrel.
A surly, rump-fed, naughty-pated, elf-skinned, weather-bitten varlet.
You venomous, lily-livered, sheep-biting scut.
The mask doesn't really have anything to do with what I'm doing, but...
I'm reading a speech that Puck gives, and Puck is somewhat of a fairy or a wood sprite, so I thought this kind of reflected that, and I made this with cotton, so it was interesting.
Over hill, over dale, through a bush, through a briar. Over park, over pale, through a flood, through a fire. I did wander everywhere, swifter than the moon sphere, and serve the fairy queen to do her orbs upon the green.
Is this a dagger which I see before me? The handle toward my hand? Come, let me clutch thee. I have thee not, yet I see thee still.
It is the bloody business which informs thus to mine eyes. Now o'er the one-half world nature seems dead, and wicked dreams abuse the curtained sleep. Witchcraft celebrates Hecate's offerings, and withered murder, alarmed by his sentinel. The very stones pray to my whereabouts, and take the present horror from the time which now suits with it. While I fret, he lives. Words to the heat of deeds too cold breath gives. Words! And fall a cursing like a very Travis scullion, firelight foe, about my brains. I have heard that guilty creatures sitting at a play, and by the very cunning of the scene, construct so to the soul, that presently they proclaim their malefactions. For murder, though it hath no tongue, to speak is most miraculous.
How long hath this possession held the man?
This week hath been sour, heavy, sad, and much different from the man he was. But till this afternoon, his passion ne'er broke the extremity of rage.
Myrrh, to quench the hair, my master preaches patience. Hark, I hear, mistress, why be gone?
But me, that is my husband. Witness you that he is born and dishonored me, even in the strength and height of injury. Beyond imagination is the wrong that she, this day, hath shameless thrown on me.
Thou shalt find me just.
Go with me in person to my house. By the way, we met my wife, her sister, and a rather more vile compel I swear on me. I never saw a change so healthy heaven, and this is false. Then altogether, they did not bother me, bore me, pets, and in a darkened dankish vaulted home. There left me and my man both bound together, till gnawing with my teeth my bonds and
Oh, time's extremity, hast thou so cracked and splitted my poor tongue in 7 short years, and here my own...
Aye, gentle mistress.
And are you not my husband?
No, I say nay to that. Her sister here did call me brother. But I told you then. Oh. There's a fat friend at your master's house who kitchened me for you today at dinner. Now she shall be my sister, not my wife.
Stay, Tybalt, stay. Romeo, 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 your strength, I drink to thee.
have any education in this field?
No, sir, I studied in the city. I wanted to be an English major, but my professor said I should be unseen and not heard.
And so good night unto you all. Give me your hands if we be friends, and Robin shall restore amends.
Basically, what we're interested in doing is covering 3 major units, and those units are covering the cell and the molecular aspects of biology for the Unit 1, which we spend a week on, and the second unit covers genetics and heredity, and a little bit on evolution, and then the third week what we're doing is ecology and population dynamics. And during the time that they come to class, they come to class from 9 to 4, and we usually set up and have about an hour lecture, maybe a little over an hour, and then we usually do a lab. And then in the afternoon we have a lecture and then followed by a lab. Sometimes that deviates, but we feel like the students need to be involved with a lot of hands-on experience, and so we do a lot of laboratories along with the course. The other thing that's involved with the labs is that they're collecting data and they're analyzing this data. So they're looking at scientific types of problems, collecting data, and in some instances we're even bringing in computers so that they can make graphs and analyze the data in that way. Finally, during the last week, based on what they've learned in doing their projects and what they've learned as far as the material, the basic principles and concepts, we asked them to work in groups of 1 to 2 students. I think most of the groups this year were 2 students working together on a project in which they have to come up with their problem, they have to set up and do the experiments, and then they have to end up by analyzing the data. And this year I've made them all make posters, and during the last day of the conference, or the 3-week session, we have them present these posters to the other class members, and we've also put those posters up in the hallway so different professors and other students can come by and see the quality of those posters. One of the things that we're very interested in doing is to go beyond the normal classroom so that the students are more in charge, they're more they have to accept the responsibility for doing their project well, for doing the experiment well, and quite a few of them will start their experiment and then they will they'll learn enough from it so that they'll say, well, I'm not doing this quite right and I'm not controlling the variables, and so then they will go through and take and redo it and understand a lot more about what's going on, and then by actually having to stand up in front of class they hone their communication skills, and they feel like they really want to know what they're talking about, and so they'll actually, I think, learn to a much greater extent what's going on there.
My school we never did a lot of labs, and here we've done so many. I'm going to be an expert at writing up labs, making graphs and charts, and doing the student t-test, which is very hard but interesting.
One of the best parts is the labs, because you get to work in groups, and working in groups is probably one of the funnest parts in class, especially for me. I like to meet people, get to know them, and I like to work together because it's a lot more funner. It's more of a social thing instead of like just working by yourself.
One of the really interesting things I thought students learned a lot was on our field trips, in which we went out to the water treatment plant, and we went through a tour and we learned how water is processed. And then also we did a field study of diversity in which they collected insects. They were broken up into 2 major groups, and they went out into the field, and using an insect net, they swept insects into the net, collected them in jars, and then when they got back to the lab they had to actually separate out each insect group by species, and then they had to glue these to paper and then finally make a calculation of a diversity index using a predetermined type of an equation for that. I think that The study was conducted with the idea of giving them a picture, besides the mathematical picture, an actual picture of what diversity meant as far as this insect population was concerned. Again, I think the students really enjoyed those field trips and being involved in that type of research.
The Pascal and programming class is centered around learning the programming language Pascal, but also to instill in the students some way of thinking about programming, some programming methodology. We begin by learning the basics, not with the language Pascal itself, but with a Carl the Robot simulator. It's a very simple language that is used to program Carl, but it's amazing that the kinds of things that students can get Carl to do. Once they've mastered the basics of the programming process, then we get into the language Pascal itself with all of its complexities. The students learn Pascal for about 10 days, and then we embark on a class project, which usually involves programming a simple board game. This year we programmed the game Mastermind, and the students did a really good job. It's a very impressive product indeed. I think one of the most important things that they get out of a class like this is the fact that programming is not a process that is done in isolation. The project, the game that we wrote the last week, it was a team project. I took the class, broke them up into 6 teams of 3 or 4 students each, and they all had to contribute work towards the final product. And so they got the concept that programming large systems is really a team effort, and that was quite a shock and surprise to many of them, but that's the way it really is. Out of this session of 18 students, there were probably half the class that who would make absolutely top-notch computer scientists, and more than that, who would be very good programmers as well.
Peanut butter inside. Take some of the outer, take some of the inner down, and put peanut butter in, and then 2 jars. Then we put candy wrapper on the egg, put that inside. Then we put candy wrapper on the whole thing, and close it, tape it, and then we use the. We're going to put the extra.
frosting. It's totally good with that.
Can't do
You'll be dropping it from 30 feet in the air.
Well, don't drop it now. We're going to put it out. They still just like...
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think so. No? Cool. Alright. Ready? We're out! We're out! Let's do it! I know! Check out! Look out! Look out! Look out!
Cheap way out.
Oh, yeah. Ready?
You're all doing it.
Alright.
I'm just joking, guys.
Go ahead. It's still... Where are we going now? Wow. That's fine. And...
Where is it? Let me see. That white thing under there. Oh, it survived, huh? Mm-hmm. All in one piece.
The red one, and this one's intact. This one's okay, but the other one died.
I think it's still intact. Yeah, right there.
Hey. Yeah. Oh, whatever. My soul.
The war class focuses on Vietnam because it was our second most costly war. It was our most divisive war. And in addition to that, it was our longest war. And it is a class I chose to teach the students in Baldwin because so many of their parents' lives were shaped by the war. And as a result, I thought it would be most interesting to them to find out why their parents are the way they are. And one of the ways of doing that is to understand what they went through and what the society went through.
Their main reason for going into Vietnam was they were anti-communist, the U.S. that is, and they had come up with a theory known as the domino theory, where if Ho Chi Minh and the communists were to conquer South Vietnam, they'd also conquer the other surrounding countries like Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, and they were afraid that those would be communist and they'd lose their relations in Southeast Asia.
And Vietnam was our most recent war. And what the students did as a result was they looked at war in general, the nature of warfare, why the United States became involved in this particular war, whether it should become involved in this particular war, what options policymakers had in terms of fighting the war, why they chose to fight the war the way they did, and why the tactics didn't work, why we lost the war. Supposedly our only defeat.
And tomorrow we're going to be a draft board, and we're deciding whether we should send the soldiers off to Vietnam. And basically, some people are going to be asked for medical deferment or conscientious objector. And so some of us will have to decide whether they should go to Vietnam or not.
We learned about how the soldiers and men in Vietnam how they were depicted as people. They were very hard people. They had to learn to be killers. And when they came back, they always stayed the same, and they couldn't get back into our culture, and they always seemed as crazy and not nice people to be around. At first we learned about war in general, and I learned that war can be thought about in many different ways. Everybody, depending on their attitude, pictures of war the different ways. And then we more got into the Vietnam and hardcore, like minds and what troops thought of the United States, and sometimes the troops didn't even know what they were exactly fighting for. It was said in one comment on this war video that the guy thought he didn't know what he was fighting for, but he thought it must be something good. But there really wasn't any reason that we were in there fighting.
We don't lose. We're lost. Bow. Our lights out, gentlemen. Lights out. What time? Time? Do you want bow, and we shall see through with our golden documentation forms. Thank you. Thank you. You shall be saved. You shall be saved. Good evening.
Good evening. We are gods from above.
Do you have a fourth citizen in your room?
Yeah.
I need to see. Thank you very much.
What time are lights out, gentlemen?
Late.
Late, 11 o'clock. Very good.
Very good. Do not forget to pay homage to your local god.
You guys lost your bet, didn't you?
No.
Bow before your gods. We
Pay
demand
homage.
it.
Sacrifice.
Where is your citizens?
Food, nectar of the gods.
Yes.
Pixie sticks.
Greetings from your gods. Bow before us.
Now. Oh, thank you. Yes, you are. Then show us your loyalty by bowing down before us.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Oh, what have you
You shall be remembered in future lives. Good evening, young ladies.
Hey, baby, what's going on?
Pay more attention to us than to the camera. Yes. Beware the evil documentation showing beast that shall come to plague you. Ha, 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 ha.
What are they on?
Scripture.
I'll sign it.
Your holy God. And what will happen if you do not turn the left?
Good evening, citizens. We have come down to grace you with our presence.
I love the
Thank you. You may bow now. Good evening.
Good evening.
Dear mortal.
Who are we talking on the phone with? Yes, we are.
video camera is right here.
Who are you talking to?
Who are you talking to, Julie? I'm talking to David. He's
Let me
having
see.
Hello,
female problems.
Hello, David. This is God done. Oh my goodness, this mere mortal has hung up again. Good
Worthy
evening.
citizens.
How are you this evening?
Great.
Good. What time are lights out? And your clock says 11:01. Oh, be careful, because if you have your lights on after 11, we shall strike you down with our mighty pixie sticks.
Freaks across the limit.
I guess science fiction you think of as a kind of sampler for kids this age, because it covers so many aspects of both science and art and social issues. You can look at someone like Kurt Vonnegut, who had some science training but not all that much. He's really more interested in politics than in physics. What I wanted to do with them was to find a meeting ground where the scientists, the ones with the serious science interest, could say, this is how the science that I'm dreaming would impact society. And the dreamers, the other kind of dreamers, the ones who want to be the heroine, would say, okay, it's good to be an individual heroine, but look at the society that this writer, the science fiction writer, has put into the background.
We read a lot every day.
We've destroyed about 6 computers, I think, 4, maybe 4, I don't know. We take apart things and we try and learn how things work for technology. We're writing stories and we talk about like all the different styles and all the different writers, and you really get a good idea of what the writers are thinking about when they write science fiction, so it's really interesting.
I've learned lots of different ideas on different things, not just on science fiction, but on how different people view it. Because there were a lot of people from around the country in their class. They all had a lot of different ideas on how things worked. And I really got a lot out of that. And I just really enjoyed it, I guess.
I'd also like to thank Professor Well, whose high standards of academic integrity and excellence that I could hear about a student who was locked out of her room in her underwear after to undergo 2 weeks of jokes because she was not sent.
There were 9 projects this year.
He just finished his homework assignment.
Justin Lee. Laura May.
Special applause. He's barely standing. He's really suffering from what your bullets are going around.
Nixon in 1960 and by Nixon's opponent Hubert Humphrey in 1968. For 10.31, this New York governor who finally accepted a vice presidential appointment. Yes, that is correct. And you're supposed to be a vote, and that's the ask. I'll just complete that question for the other people. This is evidence of... Ultra Slavonic is correct for 30 points. Awesome.
What you've got is called a sack gun. You've got one opening there. Use the little input and output. Moving through the digestive system, because you've got to use the same opening for inlet and outlet. So you're limited in the amount of material you can take in, digest, absorb, and then spit back out. And this is one of the reasons this is
considered a primitive organism. One thing you do see here is what's called cephalization.